Another week for the endless boxing podcast that is boxing with Dakota and the big dog. I am obviously the big dog, woof woof. That is Dakota down there. Dakota, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic, my friend. Coming to you live in between different shifts today, but that's how we do it, bro. We get off the clock and we make it happen.
You know what's great about that though? What a day to talk boxing. Vergil Ortiz, what did you think?
I mean, we're watching a special guy, Lukey. Like, I think sometimes it takes people a minute to realize it when it's happening, but I do think that this is now a pound for pound type of guy where you want to put him in that list, in that conversation. That's on you, but I think he's officially got a seat at the table. You take a guy like Lubin that at this point, outside of the Charlo fight, has a pretty proven track record of being a certain quality. Close, controversial, but a win over Jesus Ramos. And to see Vergil do him like that, bro, I mean, that was sensational, man. There's nothing else you could say. He took a top 10 guy and made him look simple.
So I'm going to compare it to a fight. In Dakota, maybe you remember this fight. Maybe you don't. It was Lucas Matisse versus Lamont Peterson. And a lot of people were
That's
like,
a great comparison.
What's this fight going to do? You know, with Lucas Matisse, it's like, oh, he's in with a boxer. And I'm a big Lamont Peterson fan, right? And Lamont had his ups and downs. And, there's question marks about him. But he was a quality operator. I'd say comparable to Lubin, maybe a little ahead of Lubin. We could argue about that. And Matisse stops him in a devastating manner. And I felt like this fight is like that fight where nobody is going to remember this fight. They're going to remember the devastation of the win that leads to, for that fight, it was Danny Garcia and Matisse getting in the ring and talking. And for this one, it was Lubin made the mistake to sit on the ropes, gets hit, and it's probably like one of the more jarring knockouts I've seen all year, where he's knocked out standing, which was truly frightening.
And it came in stages too, right? Like there's an overhand right that you can see his legs kind of buckle and makes him stay in place. And then there's another overhand right that you could see hurts him. And then there's a third one where he goes out altogether. And it happens within 5 seconds of each other. And that's how destructive Vergil is, man. You give him that amount of time with you stationary, not throwing anything back, you're going to be in trouble, man. And Sergio said it on the telecast. He was like, listen, you got to make Vergil miss altogether. Even if he's landing on that high guard, that is not a guy you want to give that target to.
And I think what was impressive about this performance was great cornering, as always, by Robert Garcia, one of the best trainers in the game. But it's when you give Vergil a chance to land, he really inflicts damage. And it's like, it's not good enough, like you said, just to block a punch. He's going to injure or irritate or harm you if you block, because he's that destructive of a puncher. You have to really clearly push him back.
Right, particularly if you're not throwing, right? If I'm going to trade left hooks with Vergil, obviously my hope is that I'm going to block his. But if in general on the outside, if you're just giving him, because I think people still think he's just a come forward guy, and you cannot do what he does if you don't understand your range. We saw it in the fight right before that. If you don't understand distance, if you don't understand your time, I mean, this is the other thing he was doing. You know how we talk about this, right? Commentators will do the front foot on the outside shtick.
Yeah, it's like, it was a great first observation, but now it's kind of like just a thing that almost needs to be addressed in the telecast because everyone says it.
Yeah, and sometimes it does matter in a fight. But what was interesting was he was using the pressure, and then when he would get Lubin to the ropes, he would step inside the front foot and force Lubin to square up. And so I think he was doing shit that Lubin, he wasn't expecting him to be so crafty, I don't think.
Well, I think the thing about Vergil is, and it sounds wild to say it, the only chance people have is to trade with him or try to push him back, because he has a lot of tricks going forward. This is not just a pressure fighter. Like you said, he sets traps. He has a routine that he's capable of doing. I might say
the only go ahead, Lukey.
I almost said something bold. Should I say it?
Now it's too late. You got it.
Now it's too late. He has as interesting an offensive arsenal almost as Gennady Golovkin, where it is so diverse and so effective, it is mistakenly called simple because he's doing complex things coming forward and making high level fighters look as though it's just the pressure that he's doing it. Yes, hitting hard is part of it, but what he's doing is very complicated. And smart fighters are thinking they're reading what he's doing and they're actually guessing wrong and they're playing right into his hands.
Yeah, and he's very accurate. And honestly, I was surprised to see Lubin give himself up like that.
I was surprised to see Lubin on the ropes in that situation, but at the same time, I assumed something he got buzzed. That was my assumption because I don't think that could. You don't think so?
No, bro, he was throwing. He was throwing off the ropes. He was throwing little combinations, and then at some point he shelled up, and that's when Lubin started chopping with the right hand. And like I said, by the third one, he was asleep. But he had been throwing off the ropes. There was no way he was hurt. I think he thought, I'm going to let him work a little and burn some of this energy off, and I'm going to throw my little counters when he's not really expecting it. And then he just stayed for too fucking long against the wrong guy.
Yeah, my assumption was, and maybe I'm wrong, was nobody would sit on the ropes with Vergil early. So something must have. My assumption was either a body part hurts or something is hurting, and he's trying to bluff him and catch him with a big shot and buy some time. That was my. I'm not saying that's true, but my gut feeling was, I don't think this is something you practice. This is something where something's not working. I'm trying to buy some time and bluff.
Right. Maybe he was injured or something. I didn't think he was buzzed. When you said hurt, I interpreted it as buzzed, but I could see that, you know, he got remarkably stationary very quickly.
Felt like something wasn't working for him.
Yeah.
You know, he put himself in a position that if everything was equal, he would not put himself in there. Let's get to some of these comments. Mexico boxing #1. This is one of Dakota's favorite listeners. Vergil stops Boots Ennis. We should probably get into that right now. I'm going to read all the comments and then Dakota's going to respond. Stop ducking him. All facts. Fight my fighter. Okay. So I didn't know Mexican boxing #1 was invested in Vergil Ortiz. Mankey Crazy, one of our favoriteest people who tunes in. Yo, Lubin was hurt. There was 3 different punches to the temple. Dakota kind of spoke on that early in the telecast. And Lubin went to K Chroma. That was a mistake. I don't know if that's a mistake. I think that like when fighters get older, what are you going to add to them? Right? I think it's just more so like you have to find someone that you connect with, because like I personally, and Dakota can push back on this, think it takes 2 training camps to see an adjustment with a coach. So I don't blame any coach really, because it's like it's more about the connection of the fighter. And this is someone who's had multiple coaches. So who knows, you know?
Yeah. Anytime it's like a new coach and it's your biggest fight, that's a little bit of a red flag, right? So I think that answers your question, Mankey Crazy.
It's also hard to just because you don't know that. What can happen. Let's go Boots versus Vergil Ortiz. What are your thoughts on that post interaction and just like moving forward? Let's pretend that fight's happening, but just from the body language in the ring, what are your thoughts?
I love the matchup, man. I mean, it's the best fight in the division. I don't think there's really any question about that right now. Obviously, Boots doesn't have as much experience at 154, but he's a transcendent talent to some extent that we've been waiting to be in a fight like this one. And I think it's happening at the right time, even though I would have liked to have seen it at other times. I do think it's the best it could be right at this moment. I think they're both peaking, and I think they're both fighting at a weight that's more optimal to them performing, both of them. So I'm excited about it. I really can't pick them, man. You know, there's things that there's times where I'm watching Boots and I'm like, I don't know how anyone handles that kind of hand speed. I don't really know what you do with that. And then I watch Vergil and I'm like, I don't know how you do anything with that kind of smart pressure where he just makes the ring so small so quickly and he's so accurate. But that's why we love the fight. I also, you know, I love that Eddie and Oscar are pushing it to have it in the States. And I'm excited for it, man. It's one of the most, I would say, in terms of young prime fighters signing to fight. It's one of the more excited I've been about a fight, probably since like Bivol and Better Beef. If I had,
I think that like you hit the nail on the head. It's the two best fighters who fight in different styles. You've got a come forward pressure fighter and you got a boxer puncher who explodes. And the question is, what style is more effective? Who's going to, and I guess Ortiz faced some resistance with Surai Boachuk, and Boots had some resistance with Kieran Chudanov.
And Madrimov.
And Madrim. I'd say Ortiz has faced the tougher competition as he stepped up. He's, we've seen some vulnerabilities, which you see when you step up in competition. It's an obvious statement. But we really haven't seen them like go to the 9th or 10th round and the fight's up. And I feel like it would be very shocking if someone dominated this fight. Did you have any feel for the level of confidence of either fighter when they were in the ring together?
I think they're both supremely confident. I think that everyone in their promotion, in their life, is telling them that they're the best thing of all time. And I think you got two guys that can't even imagine what that would be like.
I think the one thing about it is that I kind of like is they're true fighters, because a fighter's like an outcast and they are really awkward. So you put them in front of the camera and it was just a really awkward, uncharismatic thing. It was like
but it showed that they were authentic in their desire to do the fight. And I think that's what was important.
And I think that that's what I liked was they both have their way of saying, I will win and I believe, but they're so different. And it seems like they kind of irritate each other with their differences and competitive spirit. So I hope that like when you have people like this, you can put them in the room together if you make the fight, and then you get some of that drama. Where like if the best fight promotions are get two guys who don't like each other and stick them in a room for 30 minutes and you have a bunch of great pre-fight content. We're kind of seeing that with Devin Haney and Brian Norman, where like the more you put them in the room together, they're so different. It's just really interesting because they're like the exact opposite people. And I think Ennis is definitely not Haney, but like there's a level of like, here's the guy that's braggadocious. Here's the guy that's going to be like more soft-spoken. And both guys think the other guy does everything wrong, like from the way they fight to the way they approach things. And I think that that's the interesting thing about this fight.
Yeah, it is very much opposites in a lot of ways, but we've seen Boots, aggressive in lots of different fights. I could see it be a meet in the center of the ring kind of fight too. My thinking is that, they'll both be a little bit more tactical, but I'm looking forward to seeing this, man. And, they both had quick, basically punishment-free performances. I don't see any reason why you can't do this fight, in the first quarter of 26.
We'll see if Cordell should be jumping on soon too. So we'll probably go over this with him. Undercard, what did you think?
I mean, honestly, there was some disappointing, maybe not disappointing is the wrong word, but there was some flatter performances. Obviously, the Fulghum and Stevens fight was a tough hang, bub, right? Like anytime we see a fight like that, we know it's a tough hang. They spent, 50% of the fight arm to arm. It felt like.
Can I speak on that fight? Because I kind of foresaw that. They sparred each other.
Also, shout out to you getting a little Sergio reference on the television.
Yeah, shout out my guy Sergio, man. That's my guy, man. He made me seem important. How about that? Everyone was like, "What the heck is happening here?" Sergio making me seem like I'm an expert or something. I didn't even hear what he said. What did he say?
He was actually quoting you saying that you thought the fight would be a draw, and talking about the mashup of styles.
Yeah, because I just felt like when two guys,
and then that happened. Two
guys who've sparred each other a bunch of times, you run the risk of both guys knowing how to, they know how to fight, right? Oh, here's Cordell. We got Cordell. We got Big Booker in the building.
Hey, what's going on, champ?
He's in a 10-round fight with the camera. Okay, we got our our super good interview. We're gonna take Cordell off the camera for a second. So we're gonna let him get situated off stream, and then when he's back and it seems like he's got his camera set up, we're gonna bring him back on. But for me, I feel like when two guys have sparred a lot, you always run the risk of a draw because they both know kind of what the other guy brings, but they might not. They might have something that works in sparring, but they might not ramp up in the fight. So it looks like Chordale's back here. So he's kind of giving us like a live vlog. It's kind of cool. It's like like an influencer interview. So okay. We'll get back to that Golden Boy undercard. Chordale, what did you think? Well, I guess first off, let's talk with you about, you have this really cool white collar boxing thing you're doing outside. You're a coach, teacher of the sport. You're a passionate person. You make these videos where you're basically making fun of or being sensational. What do you got going, and what do you have to do to like train people or lawyers to fight?
To be honest, honestly, when it comes to that, it's really not that. It's not that hard in the sense of if they make a decision to do the fight, because anybody who's coming in and says they want to box and do the charity event, they're already committed to it. The part is if they're like not athletic, that's the hard part. Is trying to get them to understand how to use their body, muscle-mind connection. But as far as them like wanting to do the fight, it's a lot easier when you get somebody who's committed and doesn't have the skill versus having the skill and doesn't have the heart or the mentality for it. So it's been a tough I've been doing this for, I want to say 12 years now. I'm doing this charity event, and I've had some
Give us
tough
a story,
times.
man. Like I'll talk about, like, let's pretend I'm a guy and like I'm a pharmacist and I'm like, I want to be in great shape. I want to be sexy. I want like a hot girlfriend, and I'm gonna do boxing and I'm gonna be awesome. But like I want to do a fight, but I don't want to get hit. And I go to Coach Chordale. Like, what do you have you ever had that person?
Yeah, I mean, anything you could think of, I've seen it. Um, there's people who actually believe that they're gonna box and not get hit, and then I have to explain to them that's not possible. Floyd Mayweather and Chordale Whitaker are the best two defensive boxers of all time, and they even got hit. So I have to get that out of their mind. But it's just like it's I don't for me it's fun. For me it's fun because I feel like whenever I do this, I'm going to give them something that they're going to be able to take on for the rest of their lives, depending on no matter what age they are or what profession they have. It's something that they get to check off. It's like a bucket list item that they probably wanted to do when they were young that they couldn't fulfill, and they got to do it. So I just feel, uh, I don't know, it's just something that like sense of purpose that I get from doing it.
That's cool, man. So when is it, and how can people come out? You know, maybe one or two people show up and then ask you for free stuff. You know, that's kind of like, you know, our listeners, you know, they're pretty hardcore, but you know, they try to get their money back too. They're value driven consumers.
Oh, you could go to well, it's gonna be at the Hyatt in Greenwich. It's on the border of Stanford and Greenwich. And you come there. Everything goes to the kids. It's donated to the children. We run a summer camp every year, and we don't charge for the summer camp. So that's why we give the event, because we do a lot of giving back to the youth program in our community. And there's kids who can't afford to go to camp, so then we'll put them through camp the whole summer. And then the kids who maybe have free lunch and things like that, or assistance, we put them through during the school year. Well, we can't have them come for free. Well, most of them we do, but a lot of them will have like the city um, pay a little bit of their tuition. So we try to just make sure all kids can be accepted and have a program to be at.
Okay, that's wonderful, man. That speaks to kind of you outside of the ring. I swear I'm going to let Dakota ask you some questions, but I want to ask you one question about kind of how, as a coach, right, at all levels, because I know you have some USA boxers, I know you have white collar, how do you balance technical teaching and the emotion of the moment in the corner? And how do you balance like not being too technical or not just being a cheerleader? How do you where do you see the lines in that? And can you maybe explain to us as a teacher the value of both?
In the sense of white collar boxing, or
Just as a boxing
just my
coach,
fighters?
just start just boxing coach. And then I mean, for white collar boxing, I'd assume it would be the same, except they don't have the same ambitions.
Yeah, it's so I would say it's you got to know who you have, who's in front of you. Um, Same way you kind of got to know your audience. You need to know your fighter. Um, and some of my guys are driven by like words of affirmation, right? I could tell them over and over that they're doing X, Y, Z wrong, and they'll just continue to do it wrong. Versus me saying, "Wow, you did a great job. That was a beautiful jab." Even though I told him, "Hey, over and over, but you're not jabbing enough." But if I tell him he got a beautiful jab, somehow they'll throw the jab 100 more times and snap the jab. So just kind of knowing um, what things to say to my guys, and then when they start doing them, cheering them on and making sure they understand that they're doing it right. It's kind of like a psychological thing too for me and for them, and also the other guy who they're facing as well. I want them to know how good my guy's doing, and have them thinking about what he's doing versus what they should be doing.
Dakota?
Well, one question I would love to ask you is, you working with the white collar guys. We've recently seen Fabio Wardley knock out Joseph Parker at the end of that fight, and he came from similar types of events, over on that side of the pond. Did that kind of blow your mind? Because obviously you're already working with guys that are at that level, that don't have a lot of experience, that maybe even don't have aspirations in boxing. What did you think of a guy that started there maybe 8-10 years ago and now just knocked out basically the number 2 heavyweight in the world?
That's like, those are the stories you want to hear about, right? Like, it gives people who are like me, who started out late or didn't have a lot of people backing them up. You want to hear those stories. They're like the Rocky stories. Um, and I think it gives a lot of the underdogs motivation to keep doing what they're doing and keep training, working hard. I'm happy for them because now, like you said, a lot of people just, they'll write you off because you aren't the main guy, or you don't sell as many tickets, or you're not as popular. I think popularity has become bigger than skill, and it's dope to see somebody get an opportunity and flourish.
I think cloud is the new currency.
Exactly.
So I got a question for you, Booker. What do you think of this Boots-Ennis Vergil Ortiz fight? You fight at the weight class. I believe you've sparred Boots. Just from a fight fan perspective, we see them in the ring. They're both competitive. Dakota said it great for the podcast listeners that neither guy can fathom losing at this point. From you as a fighter in the division that probably wants a chance to fight one of these guys one day, and to have your chance to have a Fabio Wardley moment, what do you look at? Because I think your opinion is probably more important than a couple of dorks talking about boxing.
No, I think it's a good fight, man. I think the fight makes a lot of sense to happen right now. The way Vergil beat Lubin, I think it makes a ton of sense. While it's hot, you wanna see them go at it. Um, I, Honestly, man, Vergil shocked me. I didn't think he could get rid of Lubin that quick. I thought it was gonna be a tough fight. Thought it was gonna go the distance. So he shocked me with that.
Well, and not to steal Dakota's thunder, and Dakota, be sure to push me around and big dog me if you want. He talked to the fact that like it happened so quick and gradual. It's like we saw one punch land and then another, and then the fight's over. Like it's like Ortiz has this truly devastating power, but he's thinking through his shots. What we talked about in the open was it's not just like he's just coming forward and putting shots on you. It's like he's actually setting you up for stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That was. I mean, he definitely better than I thought he was. Honestly, he been showing that these last like 3 fights. Because before that, I was kind of like, nah, I didn't really believe in him. I was just like, yeah, he a good fighter, but I just thought he was just like
Going into this, what
normal.
would have been the thing if you as an opponent, right, before this fight, if you had Vergil as an opponent, what are the things you're looking at going, I don't know. He's not that special. Or because I feel like now in the last 2 or 3 fights, he's kind of blossoming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought so. What I always felt about him, I always thought he could punch, but I thought his defense was very like limited. That's what I always felt about him. That defensively he wasn't like that sharp. But it's crazy when you got hammers, like you could just it don't really matter because if you take a shot and you get one off and yours is always that great equalizer, nobody gonna remember you got hit.
What I think what it's evolved into now is he's not like a great defensive fighter, but he's a serviceable defensive fighter and he's destructive offensively. So he's not just taking them like clean on the chops when he's in the pocket. His hands are high, he's staying off to the side. But it just seems like he's so much more now than just a puncher.
Yeah, nah, he got a lot better. He got a lot better. He used to, I feel like he used to just put his hands up and he would still get hit. And now he's fainting, he's slipping with his hands high, he's giving different looks, changing levels. And I thought that was key. What got Lubin to back up to the ropes was that he didn't really know, exactly where to place the shots at because Vergil was changing his looks, even though his hands were up.
My question is, do you think Boots? Because I think that the path to victory with Vergil, which is easier said than done, is to push him back. Do you think Boots pushes him back in the early rounds, or that's what he does, or do you think he's going to be on the back foot looking to land like a counter?
I don't think he pushes him back. I think he sits down, trades with him a little bit, and boxes and picks spots to sit down and work on the inside. I don't think he'll push Vergil back. I think Vergil is used to being, um, come forward. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if can see Vergil going backwards, and if he could win being the guy going back, because then that means he would have to outbox Boots.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of what they do. Like what's interesting to me about the fight from a nerd standpoint is a lot of Boots stuff is like countering people. Like, and Chudinov made him lead, and it was like Boots didn't really like leading in that fight. And Ortiz in the Sarai Boachuk, at times he had to go backwards, and he had less arsenal going back. So I'm kind of curious which fighter kind of has to break out of their shell.
You gotta remember, Lukey, that when he fought Stanionis, he was kind of back footing, and like Chordale said, he would take little spots to exchange, but by and large, he was kind of on the move during that fight.
And that was a fantastic performance. He made a world-class fighter look like a nobody.
Yeah, yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful fight. I mean, that's why we got to see that. We got to see that match. I think they both need a fight like this for us to, figure out which one is the guy that they said he is.
Well, it's like this. The winner of this fight is a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
They're moving in that direction.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't know if I can say that right now, but they're definitely going that way. They both have the talent and the skill to be that. But I think they need the resume, like they need the bodies to beat.
I think beating like your arch rival in your prime, it puts a pretty big dent into being a Hall of Fame boxer.
I'm just wondering. I'm wondering, like, if you contextualize it, and then through history, is it Mosley De La Hoya or is it Matisse Danny Garcia? because they're both great fights, but when you go back in history, one's way more significant than the other.
Well, that's why I keep bringing up that this fight last night reminded me of Lucas Matisse versus Lamont Peterson. It felt eerily similar to that one.
I could see that, yeah.
And then Danny did the pointing at himself after the fight, and people were like, he's scared. And then Danny goes and wins the match, and everyone was shocked. They're like, wait, he won. I remember that being a thing, and now people don't even talk about Matisse.
Nah, he beat him too easy.
I wouldn't say beat him too easy. Matisse knocked the mouthpiece out, right?
I think Pacquiao beat him too easy.
Yeah, Pacquiao. That Pacquiao lost. Did you see Tiger? Did anyone see Tiger Johnson's win? Did you see that, Chordale?
I saw the knockout.
What did you think?
Knocking out Flaz. I mean, I can't really say because I only watched the highlights of it. I didn't watch, but I think he's a great fighter. I feel like he was Top Rank is gonna miss him if they got rid of him or whatever happened.
He's still with Top Rank. I'm almost sure.
Okay,
Their social media.
Yeah, he was thanking him after the fight.
Oh, okay. I didn't do my homework on it. I just saw he was
you're
fighting
a fighter, so it's excusable. Fighters come in. You're as professional as you can be because most fighters don't do their homework and they sit in a car. So you didn't do the car interview thing. So
how many car interviews me and you done, bro?
It's everyone. They're like, oh yeah, we scheduled an interview. I went to go to the store, and you're like, what the hell is this? They're sitting there. They're like, wait 1 second, I'm getting pulled over. But Dakota, what did you think of Tiger's knockout? It was one of these. I just wanted to talk about it, even though Chordale only saw the knockout of it, because it's like, here's someone who I thought was one of the most talented 2020 Olympians, kind of developed slow, took a hard road. And now he stalks Nicklaus Flaz, who a lot of people thought could be a world title contender. And the devastation of this knockout might change the course of Flaz's career.
Yeah, listen, bro, even if you didn't see the whole thing, I just think the result in and of itself was surprising because Flaz has been on a run of quality wins over Jahai Tucker. He's been on a great run, and he's a solid rhythm fighter. He's not easy to get a clean glove on. And Tiger down at 140, I just felt like it was starting to look a little flat, right? But at the same time, when you take hard fights on the come up, it's not always as flashy as some of the guys that get to be, like an A side on every time. Tiger's been in some tough fights on his come up. When he fought Harry, it wasn't that big a deal. Now Harry's the bare knuckle champion of the world. So there's tough fights that he's had to go through early in his career, and he didn't get the same kind of praise that Keyshawn did. And that, some of the other young guys, Jared Anderson, got during that time. But now that he's up at welterweight, it just looks like that's the best weight for him. He's looking more explosive. I never thought of him as a puncher, and he was just vicious in this fight, man. I was really impressed.
I think some guys develop differently. And now I'd like to toss to my good friend Chordale. When you were a prospect, can you remember the stages and development of your prospect career? And can you kind of guide us through that as two boxing nerds that never developed as fighters? Because I think that this was the moment Tiger became a contender, and maybe it would be helpful for us to look back at your career and you to talk about your development into becoming a contender.
I think for him specifically, it's probably the weight. Sometimes you want to come out and you want to be at the fight at the lightest weight so you can be the strongest. You think you're going to be the strongest at. Just because you're heavier doesn't mean you're actually stronger, right? You lose something trying to make the weight, and you could be losing a fight or not losing a fight, but crippling yourself before the fight, trying to make the fight. So it'll be the fight before the fight, and you're losing that fight, so you're not looking as flashy or as powerful come fight night. So I kind of went through that. My first two fights, I fought at 150, trying to make 147. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna fight 147. And then my third or fourth fight with PBC, I fought on TV, and I had to fight at 152. But it was a 3-day notice, which I was still happy as shit that I got this opportunity. and I won the fight. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay at 154. And then,
Did you feel different?
yeah, I fought a lot better. Even though I was still drained because I took the fight on 3 days' notice, and I was like 17, 18 pounds overweight. I had to lose. So I still fought flat by like round 3, but I'm like, all right, well, if I would have just did camp like this, I would have been great. And honestly, this is the biggest thing I could say to a lot of fighters. Like, and I hope they take what I'm saying for real. You gotta get with a team. For the Fundora fight, it was the first time I actually had a camp, and I got with the Paulina and her team Vital, and bro, I made 152 point something three, and it was the easiest time I ever made weight in my life. Like as an amateur, as a pro, there was no struggle at all. Like they know the business down to a T, like what to eat, what supplements to take. Is like, and I regret not being able to um, invest in that. You know, I didn't invest in that part of my career in the beginning because I was so worried about keeping the money and investing in other places to make sure I had a good life after boxing. And I'm like, damn, I would have had better opportunities for sure if I got with them earlier.
But I think the positive is you're that tricky veteran young fighters don't want to run into, because you can really fight. You're patient. You've never lost your mindset of being a champion or a winner, and now you know what works for you. You're the scariest guy for a young contender, because like I think that people look at you as, oh, he's hit his thing, but in many ways what you just said to me is you're the best version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I think I'm gonna get an opportunity again. I think it'll take me a little while right now. They'll probably put me on like not the A level, but that, the B plus. I'll get
The
a
mid
fight like
tier.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll get something like that, and then I just gotta make sure I'm ready and I prove to everybody why I should be back fighting on world title stage. I mean, honestly, the opportunities that I've gotten 2 opportunities to fight on big cars, and I mean, well, I've been on big cars before. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I've been on a lot of big cars, but when I've gotten my opportunities, it was something stacked against me. You know, with the ammo fight, I had to come up to 160. I didn't fight for a while. Came from tearing my Achilles to moving up to 160. Then Fundora, I only got the opportunity because it was like a little short notice and 6'6". So like I'm okay with that though. You know, I'm gonna take what's in front of me at any time.
Okay, now we're going to jump in because Dakota's got to leave pretty soon. So for our passionate fight fans, they want to know about Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn too. Either one of you guys, like I have to honestly say, this is more of like entertainment to me. The first fight was a good fight. I'm not like super thrilled to watch this one. It's boxing and I'm a sicko, so I'll end up watching it because it's what's on. But I don't have a deep passion for this fight. Guys, either talk me one way or another about this fight.
Lukey, let me sell you guys on it real quick, because when we were first doing the build up on the first one, I don't give a fuck about that fight, bro. But I'm dead ass. But and then when they finally got in the ring and they had the fight, 2 nepo babies, I just wasn't expecting a lot, because it's not that they're without talent, but when you have the lineage, you get opportunities that other guys don't. I'm not saying anything you guys don't know, but that fight, what did we say, Lukey? That fight had no business being that good.
No, it really didn't. It shouldn't have been as entertaining as it was.
For whatever reason, they're kind of built for each other, bro. And I think that we can expect another good fight. Is it athletically significant? Not really, but I think it's going to be a fun one.
I guess it's just hard for me, right? Because it's a fun fight, but we got like our heart and soul of this program is always like guys like Chordale Booker and guys that are waiting for moments like this, hardworking gym guys. And this is just kind of 2 famous sons of fighters, just kind of getting a big opportunity. And you look at the undercard, there's two really interesting fighters on the undercard, Adam Azim and Jack Catterall, who are honestly more distinguished in many ways than the main event. And it's like
that probably should be the main event.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Jack Catterall versus Essuman both have really notable wins. Catterall's done a lot in the sport, and Ekow just beat Josh Taylor, which is arguably Jack Catterall's biggest win. And there is a little bit of just like, where do these guys go? Where the freak do these guys go after this fight? Like, it just feels like a fight that's made to make money, and then we figure it out afterwards. And as a fight fan, paths kind of matter. But Chordale, do you have any opinion on this?
I mean, I'm on the fence about it because at the same time, I'm like, as fighters, we just want to make money. But now I'm kind of against it because it's like both of them already have money. They came from money. So
I guess what I'm saying, to not get you in trouble and just help you out and, you know, be a teammate and blow the whistle for you like an NBA coach.
Mm-hmm.
From a stylistic standpoint, what do you think of this fight? Because it's like Conor Benn to me is like a frustrating one because he's like a welterweight that went to junior middleweight, who's fighting in middleweight. We don't even know what his identity is as a fighter now.
Man, he's not winning this fight. Eubank is gonna win the fight. Eubank got with Bomac. He taking the fight serious. He gonna beat him more convincingly this time. That's really what I believe.
Is there a chance for a stoppage?
Possibly. He the bigger guy. I don't feel like it's like crazy that he beats Conor Benn. I think everybody should think that he should beat him. You know, like he's moving up. We saw Bud do it, but it's like, all right, that's different. And I mean, like a lot of us thought and believed Bud was better and Canelo was, you know, not that big. And there was a lot of things that we understood and we saw why Bud can win. I don't see why Conor Benn can win.
In the first fight, I thought Conor Benn could win just based off of confidence, momentum, and irrational confidence. But then I watched the fight and he just looked too small. He had some success, but he was getting bullied. And I also feel as though, and this is just me being real, this real boxing guy talk, Eubank, even with Bomac, has been inconsistent in his career. He's not a guy that consistently puts performances together. He's had a lot of ups and downs. I think Bomac has been the best fit for him, and Bomac's a hell of a coach, and he's one of the special guys out there. He's really figured something out. But Eubank is a fighter that I don't feel consistently has the same performances fight after fight.
But to add to the champ's point, man, at the end of the day, he's just a much bigger guy. And Conor Benn was good at welterweight, maybe even sensational against Chris Algieri. But it's just like a fight. It's a weight that's not his weight. And at the end of the day, Eubank is supposed to win. And I think unless you're a part of the British fight public that watched, you know, their dads and is like really invested in that part of it, it probably isn't for us as much. You know what I mean? The only reason it's for me now is because the first one was a banger and I didn't see it coming, you know?
Yeah. Okay, well, we don't want to waste Champ's time the whole time. We got 15 minutes with Dakota. Now Chordale sees why I do this show with Dakota, because he's just a character. You know, we sit in our mom's basement. That was actually originally going to be the name of the show, is My Mom's Basement, because the fun fact for the audience, we both film our show in our mom's basement. So that was the reason for that we were going to do the show called that. But just wanted to let people behind the curtain on that one.
Yeah, bro. We were going to call it Mom the Meatloaf. You remember?
Yeah. What's she doing up there?
Yeah, my mom's basement with Lukey and Dakota, filmed on location.
That's a classic right there.
Yeah, filmed on location, filmed on location in our mom's basement. But Adam Azim and Kurt Scoby, I know maybe Chordale, you might, Northeastern guy, you might have had some experience, but to me, I don't know. I think this could be an upset. I'm going to do my talk too much to set a prelude to the fight, but that's also because I don't know how much people want to talk about, and I think it's worth talking about. Adam Azim has really fast hands, and he can move his feet, but he has a lot of flaws, and one of which is he loves to keep his head upright. And I was telling Dakota this on a phone call yesterday, and Chordale, Champ, push back on me if I'm right or wrong here. I have an irrational belief that bad fundamentals lead to chin problems. It's something I firmly believe in. I don't think guys are just chinny. Some guys are chinny maybe, but I think the fact that he's straight, and I equate it to skateboarding. So I skateboarded as a kid. I was a really cool guy. I'm not cool anymore, but I was a real cool guy. Like I had cool stuff. And to jump downstairs, you have to squat. You have to bend your knees to absorb the stairs. Jump down 8 stairs, you got to bend your knees. If you do it straight-legged, you're going to get hurt. And I feel like with Azim, he's straight-legged. He doesn't bend his knees when punches are coming back, and he's going to end up getting clipped, partially because his chin is exposed, but he doesn't have the shock absorber of the knees. I'm curious to see if Scoby can catch him, because I think that the hand speed difference is going to be big, but can Scoby commit in that mid-range and throw punches and time him? Okay, that's my monologue, so I'm going to give it to you guys.
So I haven't watched any video of Azim, but going by what you said, that's going to be a problem for him. But if he's quick and he can box, that's going to make for an awkward fight. That's going to be tough. It's tough to fight guys who are fundamentally not as sharp and as crisp as like a straightforward, Floyd kind of fighter, Bud kind of fighter. There's something to be said about those awkward type of guys who stand up straight and you don't catch them on the chin flush, but when you do, you rock them. I don't know. I gotta do a video. I gotta actually
to
watch
be fair,
that.
Chordale, and you should make a social media post on this one. I think you're about in the same boat as 70% of boxing writers, and I think some of them give their opinions. So to be fair, I'd say most people haven't seen Adam Azim and just share an opinion.
Yeah, nah, I'm not gonna do that though, because I don't want to do that to him or to Scoby, because I rock with him. I like him. I've seen him fight a couple of times, and I've been in the gym with him. So I definitely want him to do well. So I'm gonna check this guy out. But he didn't lose to a boxer. When he lost to a guy who put a lot of pressure on him, and Dakota Linger. Which, if the guy doesn't do that, then it's like you kind of got to beat it.
Pick up for Champ right here. Give him some information from your assessment, because Dakota watches more boxing than I do, so he's gonna have like various hot takes and stuff.
I was at Scoby's last fight against Alex Martin that was here in New York, and I was impressed with the win. He did some good things. He made some good adjustments, but he was really having a hard time for the first 3 or 4 rounds. Martin's a good mover, right? But he's kind of a veteran, maybe a high-level gatekeeper, you might even call him. And so with Azim, even though he does have his chin up in the air, I look at him kind of like a poor man's Amir Khan, and I just think he's going to be like a little bit too athletic and fast, but it wouldn't blow my mind if Scoby won either.
I think the thing about Scoby is he reminds me of Brandon Glanton, that they're just mean, tough guys. And I love Kurt Scoby because he's like so intense. And I think that his biggest weapon in this fight is he's really, really intense, and he's extremely hard on himself, and he's going to press the action.
It's good. I mean, it's a good undercard fight for sure.
Yeah, and you guys made me want to watch it, because like I didn't know who this guy was. I kept seeing advertisements for it, but I never looked him up to see like
he's a pretty big prospect in England right now. I think they've kind of been waiting to kind of step him up to that next level, and maybe this is that fight.
Oh, so like this is the crossover for both of them.
Yeah,
it's a step your game up fight. It's a step your game up fight. Man K Crazy said Hector Bermudez is the coach of Kurt Scoby. Says Scoby is almost ready, just needs to work on one more thing. I think it was cutting off the ring.
He definitely needs a little work on that. Martin was able to get his outs in that first couple rounds. I think if you give Azim that kind of rhythm, it could get challenging.
Can I ask you a question, Dakota, and maybe have Champ weigh in too? Was Martin trying to win, or was Martin trying to survive when he was having trouble trying to cut off the ring?
No, he was trying to win, man. He won the first 2 or 3 clean and was doing some good work from the outside. Now Scoby made the adjustment, but to me, sometimes he's just a little too one and done. He loads up on one good one, and then he kind of resets. And there's certain guys you just got to be a little more creative than that.
Champ, What's the difference between a guy that's hard to cut the ring off against? Obviously, with your skills, I would assume you've never ran into this problem, but maybe you have. Between a guy trying to survive versus a guy who's trying to win, and it's tough to cut the ring off. Is there a difference? Am I tripping? What do you think?
Nah, there is for sure. There's a big difference. A guy who's trying to survive. I mean, you still should be able to get a guy out of there, but it's hard to do that shit because they're not letting their hands go the same way. They're content with just keeping their hands up and taking a few shots and then tying up, not giving anything back. The only time you really to land a clean shot really is when somebody's trying to win a fight. When they're trying to land a punch, that's when you get the openness and you can counter. If they're not putting out any punches, you can't counter punch. There's no openness for you.
So because I love to talk and it's my show, I'm going to give an example. Gervonta Davis versus Yorkis Gamboa. Gamboa was surviving a lot in that fight, and it was hard for Tank to land because it's just hard when a guy's just not opening up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good one too, man. I guess Donaire versus Narvaez. That would be my best example.
Or Donaire versus the Japanese fighter on the main event from Rios Alvarado. Do you remember that one where it was like they were just staring at each other?
Was it Nishioka?
Maybe. I can't remember his name, but I just remember the minute he opened up, Donaire knocked him out because the guy was just waiting.
I can give you a good one.
Okay.
Y'all remember Joshua Clottey?
Yes, indeed.
Perfect example.
I love this example. You don't even give a fight. You're just like him.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I like this. Just keep going.
Because he does that shit a lot. Like, it was a Pacquiao he fought, and he just put the earmuffs on, and Pacquiao was throwing 9-10 punch combos on just his gloves because he was content with just, all right, well, as long as I don't get knocked out.
If I didn't know any better, when I was watching that fight that night, I would have said that Jim Lampley was off the sauce and that he got a little bored during that fight. And he got a little spicy.
I mean, that's one of his best calls when he's like, try to hit me. Bang.
Bro.
Bang.
Jimbo was on one that night.
That was one of the best calls. I would say Cloudy gave away the Cotto fight too.
Yeah,
because
a little bit.
He should have won that fight, but he just did what you said, where it's like you have to ramp up to win a fight like that, and he was real content just going earmuffs and walking.
Yeah, that was him as a fighter, just like, all right, well, if I'm not gonna really win this fight, I'm just gonna not get knocked out.
Okay, last fight we're gonna talk about this week. Jack Catterall. I'm not sure if you've ever gotten in there with Jack Catterall. Chordale, have you?
Nah, I've been in there with Josh Taylor. I sparred Josh Taylor. Yeah.
And we're gonna ask you how that went and all that stuff. Maybe give us video footage so we can leak it and stuff and all that. We're not gonna get too personal, but like we can just expose how that went and stuff. And Dakota, why don't you break this one down? Because to me, this is a real fight. It's for those unaware, Jack Catterall's first fight with Ennis. For me personally, I think when you have a new coach, the first fight with a new coach only shows your temperament and game plan. It doesn't really show the improvements per se. Dakota's got to get out of here in 5 minutes, by the way, too. Dakota, what is your thoughts on this fight that I think is the fight of the weekend?
I'll give this will be my closing statement for the day. To me, if I was just picking off of the two fighters, I'm leaning towards Catterall. But Catterall is now in a camp and with a trainer that is so opposite from how he fights that I just don't know what you're going to be able to do with that in a camp or two. Like, he's exclusively kind of a back foot counterpuncher guy, and now he's in like a Philly gym war spot. So I don't really know what that's going to be doing for him. And I wouldn't think that, like at this point in your career, you'd want to be having that much of an identity shift. But maybe it's working for him, man. Maybe it's good that he's getting a little more physical work now. We'll see how that plays out for him. But off of talent, I would lean towards Catterall.
So, Chordale, what do you think of Dakota's statement that he's a back foot counterpuncher and that maybe going to that gym might have more of an offensive sense? We've seen it work with Andy Cruz. Maybe Fulton won a fight with Brandon Figueroa, though Figueroa did look pretty flat in that fight, we should note. Do you think there's any temperament change? I don't know how familiar you are with Catterall or anything, but I should probably ask you that too.
Yeah, no, I like Catterall. I think what he said was what Dakota said makes sense. But I like this change for him. I think it's gonna bring the best out of him. Sometimes as fighters, we get so used to doing the same thing, we become like mundane almost. Like you do the same shit over and over and over. It's methodical training. So I think this is gonna change him up and push him to the next gear and get guys out there. Like you said, Andy Cruz was already a phenomenal fighter, but now he was, stopping guys. And I think that, with professional fighting, knocking people out mean more dollars.
Well, I want to point people because I'm a big Ekow Essuman fan, right? I'm sure Chordale and Dakota are huge fans too. He's just a big
Listen,
mover.
I saw the Taylor fight. I've seen him fight before. I think he's good, but I think that Taylor was so done by then that I don't entirely know like how much weight to give that, Well,
I think that's a fair and accurate assessment. I want to point people to his fight in July 2024, if you can. Go back and watch if you're a sicko, right? Maybe if you're in a gym all day or you're bored. Go back and watch his fight with Owen Cooper. Cooper, goes down early in the fight. Then Ekow gets hurt in the 9th round, comes out and stops him in the 10th round. And though he doesn't have the arsenal and the talent of Catterall, and more than likely he's going to lose this fight, he has something you can't teach, which is heart. He got hurt in a fight against an undefeated fighter that was a 50-50 close fight, and he comes out and stops him in the final round. And it's always nerve-wracking when you fight a guy who's beat 2 undefeated fighters in a row on the wrong side, in the quote-unquote wrong corner. Well, really, you look at his wins. Oh, my God, this is going to be the most nerdy stuff. Chris Congo, former prospect. Harry Scroff, another guy that was well regarded. Owen Cooper, Ben Vaughn, those are 2 undefeated fighters, and Josh Taylor. So he's fought a bunch of real guys and won. So Catterall has more talent and should win. And this win should vault him up the rankings if he wins. But if anything goes wrong, this is a highly confident guy who consistently over the past years fights the exact same way at a same standard. So let's see. And the chat said he lost to Scarf. Oh, okay, my bad. He lost to Harry Scarf, so it's not as impressive. So my monologue derailed. So that's my little thing about Ekow. The chat's like, you're effing wrong. The chat also says, Mankey Crazy said Butler, in a way, is a good example of a guy fighting.
Yeah, bro. That guy was on the move. He was not trying to stay in place that whole fight.
Okay, so that is basically our week of boxing. Did we cover everything, Dakota?
Even if we didn't, I gotta head out, fellas. It was.
You gotta head out. Chordale, do you want to do any war stories? Is there any moments of your pro career that are fascinating to go viral?
Shit, man, the most viral thing I did was fight somebody 6'6", bro. That's it. That shit was nuts. Pause, man. That might have been that's probably the wildest thing I done did in my career, bro. When I faced off with Fundora, I was like, how the fuck? Like, what? How is this possible that he can make this weight?
Well, worst press conference ever because you're like a nice guy and he's a nice guy. It was like the most unanticipated press conference because unless someone talks trash to you, you don't really go out and talk trash. And Fundora is just a really nice guy.
Yeah, that's why I got to bring the garbage man back, bro. I used to talk a lot of shit with the garbage man. I'm gonna bring that back. I'm gonna bring that back for real.
So who was the garbage man?
I look forward to seeing the garbage man soon. Chordale, thanks for coming on with us, boss. I'll see you guys soon, all right?
Okay, so we're gonna finish off. Give us who was the garbage man? Was that your persona when you talked trash?
Yeah, that was my persona. I was calling out all the guys who were undefeated, but I felt like they were undefeated only because they fought guys who, were lesser competition, and didn't want to fight people who actually could fight. So then I made this whole alter ego called the Garbage Man. I was calling out different fighters telling them to fight me if they really were real fighters. And I'm gonna bring that back because right now at this moment in my career, I'm not gonna be getting any big opportunities until I show people I could beat these B level, C level guys.
I feel like you could do like a Shannon Briggs character where like you could dress up like a garbage man and like have a fighter's photo in the garbage and be like, look, I got to throw this out. And like, I feel
Yeah,
like there's a whole social media shtick that could
that's
go
what I
along with it.
that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing before. I'm gonna bring back some of my old videos and put them up so you
You
can
just
see.
recycle them. They're going to be like, wow,
Yeah,
he looks younger.
that's exactly what's gonna happen. They're like, "What happened?" And I'm gonna just start doing some new ones, man. Because there's a lot. There's people locally like who will call me out, and I'm like, I know they don't really mean it. They just want to have the media attention that I'll give them. But I'm about to start giving it to them.
What's the one fight in your career that got away?
um, it was either gonna be Castaño or Charlo. It was something like that that was on the horizon for me. So um I had beat Wale Omatoso, and then Omatoso went on to fight Curtis Stevens. He stopped Curtis Stevens, and then because he beat Curtis Stevens, which I beat Wale Omatoso, but I tore my Achilles. So Wale Omatoso got that fight with Castaño, and then Castaño beat him, so he got the Charlo fight. And I always think back, like, wow, if I didn't tear my Achilles, that was my trajectory, right? Like I tore my Achilles, but because we fought each other and I was hurt, he got the fight with Curtis, beat Curtis Stevens, gets the Castaño fight, Castaño beats him, gets the Charlo fight. And
Best camp of your career. What was it?
yo, it's crazy. You gonna the Fundora fight, man. Best camp of my career. It didn't seem like that because the way the fight went, but man, the best camp of my career. I can honestly say, man, the team I had behind me was just amazing, and I can't wait to do it again.
Worst camp of your career.
When I fought Aleem, Emmanuel Aleem, had a 3-day notice. I made weight. I just made weight like by point two. Had to get butt naked, take off my drawers and my socks to make weight. And I still was point one over. And I told him, man, I'm not losing that point one. If I gotta lose that point one, I'm going home.
Fight week memory of being in the hotel with a really famous fighter and just running into him as random people.
Tony Harrison. When I fought Wale Omatoso, I ran into Tony Harrison. We chopped it up. He called the fight that weekend when we became friends, and now we brothers for life now.
And it was just like, did you see him at the elevator or the brunch or whatever? Like, do you remember the moment?
I just caught him in the hallway. He had a hotel room on the same floor as me.
That's always the fun thing about fight week is like when you're there for a fight, it's like 2 doors next to you could be like the most famous fighter ever. And you're all in the same hotel, especially if like you're in Minnesota or something. There's not a lot of options. It's like you can't really trying to think of any more really interesting ones. Interesting social media call out that someone did to you.
Nobody
Nobody
really
ever
ever.
did no regional fighter ever did a Chordale Booker call out.
Nah, these dudes be soft, man. So like their call outs are like weak. They'll like tell their friends. So now I hear it through like another fighter, but I've never had anybody directly call me out.
Okay. And I guess the final one is you got your personality. I kind of like it where you're the garbage man. You're kind of critiquing stupid stuff on boxing or whatever. Like you go on there, and I like it because you're a real boxer. So it's like I'd rather you do it than like some random guy. But you have like your
Yeah.
persona where you're pointing out things. Have you made your video about first name, last name yet? The manager.
Nah, nah, I gotta drop that. I gotta drop that one because I really just can't believe that's a real thing. Like when you
So why
guys are,
don't you explain that to people? Because you're going to make a piece of content around something on BoxRec where someone, it seems like, filled out their name wrong and wrote first name, last name as the manager's name.
I think you should give the explanation,
Well,
because
that was just it. That was just it. That's like the explanation,
like,
isn't it?
yeah. I just don't know how are you gonna
I'll just
take
say, wait for
somebody
the
to the next
content.
level?
You've got content coming. I think it speaks to what's interesting about you, Chordale, is you can really fight. You have a passion. You're a good teacher, but you also have this sense of humor side, and you got a way of kind of like rubbing people the wrong way, which is great for social media. And I think you're going to embrace that over time, and people are going to really take to the content you're making. So the people that enjoy our show, be sure to check out your social media, which you can find at, where is it?
The GIF_7, or type in Chordale Booker on any social media platform.
Perfect. So that's exactly where you need to go. And thank you for joining us. We wish you the best. When's the white collar boxing event?
It's gonna be next Friday. Anybody who can tune in, we're gonna be streaming it live on we're gonna put it either on YouTube or Instagram. I think we're gonna go with YouTube just because it's a bigger platform. But if you can't make it there, please donate to the kids. We appreciate it. Anything goes a long way.
So we're going to be sharing the links to that. We're going to add a link in the show notes if they ever pass it on to me. Follow Chordale on his social media platforms. He is a really interesting person to watch for, and I think he's going to surprise some people in the next coming years. Chordale, thank you for letting us waste your time today.
Nah, man. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate you guys. Love chopping it up with people who understand and know boxing.